China just made a move in AI that caught the West flat-footed. Not a new chatbot, a power play. China's new AI move isn't catching up. It's about rewriting who controls the future of AI capability, tech influence, and global power. DeepSeek refused to give Nvidia and AMD early access to its next model and gave that head start to Chinese partners like Huawei. In AI, that's not normal. That's how you shift the hardware advantage. Because whoever gets early optimization wins deployment speed, and speed wins adoption. Pause on that for a second, because in this industry, that's like refusing VIP access to the biggest concert sponsors. It breaks a long-standing unspoken rule that every major model rollout builds in co-optimization with the companies that make the hardware that actually runs it. And here's the kicker. This move wasn't just technical, it was strategic. It gives Huawei and other Chinese chipmakers a multi-week lead in tuning DeepSeek's V4 to run fast and smoothly on their silicon, while Nvidia and AMD are left waiting at the gate. Just when you think that's wild, there's more. DeepSeek's V4 could land as early as this week. Reports suggest DeepSeek's V4 is expected as early as this week. And the timing matters because it locks in who gets the optimization advantage first. So here's the obvious question. How is China pushing forward in AI even with export bans on key chips? A U.S. official has claimed DeepSeek trained on Nvidia's newest Blackwell-class hardware, even as export controls were designed to restrict access to that level of compute. If that's true, enforcement is already behind reality, which begs the bigger mystery. If export controls aren't stopping access to frontier hardware, what is slowing them down? And just when you think the West has the upper hand with hardware, the second shock drops. Anthropic, one of the leading U.S. AI labs, says it uncovered industrial-scale distillation campaigns by 3 Chinese AI companies, including DeepSeek. Anthropic says it found industrial-scale distillation attempts, not dozens of accounts, 24,000, not a few prompts, over 16 million interactions. That's not using an API. That's capability extraction. This is the blind side. Hardware controls don't matter if capability can move through software. And once that's true, the entire strategy has to change. And here's where it flips. If China can absorb frontier behaviors without needing to invent them from scratch or rely on Western chips, the entire idea of containment, controls, sanction walls, choke points starts to feel like a paper shield. And now we get to what this really means, because it's easy to toss around words like AI race or tech competition. But this moment feels like something deeper. The West's whole containment strategy has been built around controlling hardware and supply chains, keeping the best chips in the West, restricting exports, and making it hard for rivals to build frontier models. That's the playbook. But here's the catch. If capability can move around those restrictions, not through chips, but through things like distillation or open-source ecosystems, then those hardware controls lose a lot of their punch. So the game shifts in 3 moves. Capture capability through software, capture developers through open models, capture deployment by optimizing on domestic chips. And this isn't hypothetical. Chinese-built open models are gaining traction. They're cheaper, easier to integrate, and growing fast on global platforms. When developers around the world start building tools, apps, and products on those models, suddenly the West doesn't set the standards anymore. Others do. That means influence over safety tooling, auditing norms, developer mindshare, and the very foundation layers of AI can shift. Now take a look inside the West itself. The picture isn't unified. Some U.S. officials want controlled sales of advanced chips to China, arguing that keeping Chinese firms dependent on Western hardware will slow their progress and keep competition healthy. Others are warning that any leakage, legal or not, could accelerate Chinese military and intelligence use of AI faster than anyone anticipates. There's real debate and real division on strategy in Washington. And let's get personal for a second. This blind side isn't just about who's got the fastest chatbot. Imagine Western companies suddenly finding that the next wave of automation software, creative tools, enterprise systems, and even industrial workflows are built using AI models they don't control. That's not distant tech future stuff. That's the foundation of many products and services people use every day. And this isn't just Washington. If Chinese models become the default globally, Western companies don't just lose market share, they lose the standards layer. The rules get written somewhere else. Europe feels it too. AI Plus is designed to embed Chinese systems across industries fast. And here's where things stop feeling like a tech sidebar and start looking like a playbook unfolding in real time. Let's begin with the mindset behind all of this. It isn't just engineering. DeepSeek's founder Liang Wenfeng isn't painting this as catching up. He's framing openness as leverage. Now rewind to early 2025. When DeepSeek first dropped its DeepSeek R1 model, it wasn't just another release. It upended expectations. It claimed performance on par with leading US systems while using a tiny fraction of the compute cost. It overtook global attention and even soared in adoption because of that cost-to-performance angle, flipping the narrative from China is behind to China has a contender. But not everyone bought the story at face value. DeepSeek claimed it trained R1 insanely cheaply, and Western labs questioned the numbers. Either way, it forced the world to pay attention. Meanwhile, China wasn't dithering. It was setting a national strategy. Beijing's AI Plus strategy isn't a slogan, it's a roadmap that aims for deep penetration of AI into industry, services, and society, with goals for large-scale integration across sectors by 2027 and even broader adoption toward 2035. That's industrial mobilization, not an experiment on the side. And that ecosystem building shows up in the data. Across open platforms like Hugging Face, Chinese AI model releases surged, and downloads of models from Chinese organizations have overtaken all others. This isn't a trickle, it's a flood. And it means the Chinese open model wave is now statistically measurable, not just conjecture. Then came the Spring Festival Model Blitz. In early 2026 alone, Chinese labs stacked one announcement on another. Alibaba unveiled Qwen 3.5, a model designed for complex task execution and agent-style performance. Other labs like Zhipu AI pushed GLM5, expanding into coding and agent functions optimized on domestic hardware. And there were models aimed at consumer devices, showing the push isn't only for the cloud, but for AI everywhere. For a hint at what's coming, there are even embodied AI experiments, robot-focused models trained across platforms, suggesting industrial uptake isn't far behind. But then the real alarm bell rang with the copy and deploy revelation. OpenAI officials warned US lawmakers that DeepSeek employees had developed ways to circumvent access restrictions and pull outputs from Western models for training. This wasn't a casual line of code. This was systematic extraction, a free-riding approach that blurred the lines between fair research and capability siphoning. Anthropic backed this up with specifics. 3 Chinese AI companies, including DeepSeek, allegedly ran massive distillation campaigns, generating millions of interactions with Claude through thousands of fake accounts to build their own models. And just when you thought the West had at least hardware on lockdown, DeepSeek's latest model, V4, was withheld from Nvidia and AMD, while domestic partners like Huawei got early access. Here's what most people miss. Optimization decides who ships first. That wasn't just a collaboration choice. Observers interpret it as part of a broader strategy to shift optimization toward Chinese silicon, sidelining Western hardware influence. Then there's the export enforcement weirdness. Officials say DeepSeek even trained on Nvidia's most advanced Blackwell chips despite export bans, and may try to scrub traces of that fact. That makes enforcement look like it's already lagging behind reality. And to cap it all off, platforms like ByteDance's Dubao are showing enormous deployment scale, with tens of millions of users and billions of queries, reminding everyone that in AI, distribution and adoption can matter just as much as raw research power. So what is China's latest AI move really about? It's not a single stunt. It's a stacked strategy that hits the West playbook from multiple angles. Capability capture. Through massive distillation campaigns, Chinese labs have pulled frontier behaviors from models like Claude without building everything from scratch. Ecosystem capture. Chinese models, often open-weight and freely reusable, are being downloaded and integrated by developers worldwide. Hardware capture. Moves like giving early V4 access to Huawei Instead of Nvidia and AMD signal a shift toward optimizing these models on domestic silicon first. Market capture. When AI systems see millions of users and billions of queries, adoption becomes a competitive lever in its own right. But here's the rub. The West is only now waking up to the systemic lag in its containment strategy. U.S. export controls on advanced AI chips have been tightened, loosened, and repeatedly revised, with some shipments conditionally approved, even as enforcement struggles to keep pace with real-world leakage. And this isn't just a U.S. problem. Europe's industrial base feels the squeeze, too. China's AI Plus push to embed AI across industries and services could pressure European firms to adopt Chinese systems if Western alternatives fall behind. DeepSeek Vive 4 is expected soon. And when it lands, the real test won't be benchmark scores. It will be who it runs best on, who integrates it first, and who controls the ecosystem that forms around it. If the West built its AI strategy on hardware choke points, this next release may prove those choke points were never enough. If you want to understand the real shifts happening in AI before they hit the headlines, subscribe to AI Unlocked HQ, because the next move in this race won't wait for anyone to catch up.